Hi, I'm DuaneLife. I'm the builder of this KolbFirestar. I fly off the Norwich Airport, elevation 1500. When I bought this airplane, it looked real simple. And I thought, boy, this is something we can put together in 200 or 300 hours, and that turned in to be a big joke. There's things on the Kolb, if you do it right, it takes quite a while to build it. Now, I hear they have been built in 300, 400 hours, but not me. I can't build one that quick. I'm slow and thorough. So like I said, I don't even have any idea how many hours we're talking about. I just, like I say, 14 months and that's it. And I'm retired, so we're talking working almost every day on it. So no, I don't really consider this a beginner's airplane. Now, it's an easy airplane to fly, but it's not all that easy to build. As far as repairs, I've only had one repair on this in 5.5 years, and I had to replace about 1.5 feet of the right aileron. And the reason that happened, I was working on the airplane and had my back to the field and didn't realize there was an anvil head standing out there behind me, and as it came in, I turned around just in time to see all the dirt and everything rolling towards me. Opened up the hangar door and the airplane was blown up against the side of the hangar and smashed an aileron. I was lucky I didn't lose the airplane and everything. So as far as repairs, that's the only repair I've had in 5.5 years, and that was real easy to do. As far as factory support, I didn't really have to call the factory all that much, and when I called them, I felt like they followed through real well. But since I've built airplanes in the past, it didn't really create any problems for me as far as having to make a lot of calls to the factory. But I'll say this, when you called, I always got answers. The Kolb is a good crosswind airplane. The ailerons are effective, the rudder's effective, you can make 90-degree crosswinds. I've done it up 20 mile an hour easy. Although I don't like to fly 20 mile an hour crosswinds, it can be done. The airplane's real good at it. You can get in and out of short strips. I have a friend of mine that has a 600-foot model airplane strip out behind his house, and I operate out of that quite often. I fly up to see him and land on this 600-foot, and of course it's out in the middle of the field, so I can drag the airplane in, plop on the end, and probably don't use 100 foot of it on landing. Take off, I'm in the air 100, 150 foot, depending on the temperature, and I weigh 200 pounds, so I would say the airplane is just real good in and out of short fields. I've been in on rough fields and no problem at all. The airplane is real good for cross country. Of course, with 5 gallons of gas, you're limited to, I can stay up, depends on how fast I'm pushing the airplane, but most of the time I can plan on 2 hours to 2 hours and 20 minutes on 5 gallons of gas on a 377 engine. Most of the time, in that length of time, I've been caught in headwinds and used it all up and didn't go 40 miles, and I've had a good day and going 90 miles on it. So it depends on the winds. You got a headwind or tailwind or what, but as far as the weather and cross country, if you have gas stops, it's no problem at all. And most of us have different buddies around here within a range of 5 gallons of gas, so we can just keep crow hopping across the country we want to. It's a real comfortable airplane to fly cross country. A Kolb is so easy to fly. If you know how to fly an airplane, you can fly a Kolb. Now, like any of them, don't just go jump in and say, I'm going to go fly if you don't know anything about flying. But if you can pilot an airplane, you can pilot a Kolb. On my first flight on this, on the taxi test, I took it out in the evening. I was going to taxi it. I wasn't planning on flying at all. I slowly started feeding the power into it. And I looked down and I was 3 foot in the air. I was flying. Now, that was my taxi test, so I said, there's no point in taxiing this thing. Go ahead and fly it, and that's what I did. Now, there's one thing to look out for on a Kolb. When you feed the throttle in wide open, quick, you better have the stick all the way back or it'll go over on its nose. That's the only difference. Where on most tail draggers, you come up, go forward on the stick, get the tail up, Kolb's just in reverse. With the pusher and the engine up above, it will shove it over on the nose, but this happens about once and you catch on real quick. It is really an easy aircraft to fly in a stall. If you go just exactly what Homer tells you in the book, to make it easy to begin with, you can throttle back to 4,500 RPM and just start slowly coming back on the stick. You'll hear a change in the propeller back there because the angle's changed. It'll let you know. It'll start making a funny sound. There's really no buffeting of the wings or anything. But when you get down to about, of course, it's going to depend on your weight. But you get down, say 27, 28 mile an hour, all of a sudden the airplane will just pitch forward. It's not violent. Just release the pressure on the stick, it'll come right out. One other thing I like to bring out, I've done dead stick landings in this airplane, just shut the engine off. Like I say, I can do this out here. This is a wide open field with 3/4 mile runway, so it was easy to practice. So if you got a place you can do this, it's a good idea to do it. Now there's one thing to look out for. I've done this several times and no problem, and all of a sudden one night when I did this, the airplane suddenly didn't feel right. And I don't know how to describe it except it just felt like I was sitting in a bowl of Jell-O. It was just uncontrollable, and then it'd smooth out and it'd start in again. And I thought, well, what is wrong? And I'm looking around, I don't see anything, and it'd do this and come out, and I don't know why. I thought, well, let's try for a restart. All I did, I reached up here and grabbed the starter, and I started to change the position of the prop. When I changed the position of the prop, the airplane smoothed out. So, you can see back here, you get it in the right position, and I'll be honest, when this happened to me, I had that wide wavy yellow streak running up my back, and I can't tell you what position it was in. I just slowly started changing, and you can see what happens. And I think it was probably horizontal. But as the air goes over the wing, hits the prop, then it'll start tumbling, and it's going to blank out the control surface on the tail. So you have no control. So you see, as you change this position, then it's going to smooth out over the control surface back there on the tail again. So just remember that. If you get in trouble, just reach up there and take that starter and just slowly start pulling it. That should save you. One thing I think should be covered on the Kolb, this airplane can be folded up by one person, not over 15 minutes. You're fast, you can do it quicker. The tail will fold up, the wings will pivot around and fold up against the tail. You can put this airplane in a 6x6 foot square, 22 foot long, and that's giving clearance all the way around. Summing up the Kolb, I don't see how anybody can go wrong on one. It all goes back to what you want for an airplane. If you want one to look like an airplane, to me this doesn't look like one. But what is an airplane? Wings, tail, engine, I've got that, so you know it's an airplane. You get right down to it. So, but as far as saying yes, I would buy another one or advise anybody to buy one or build it, sure, you bet, it's a good airplane.